now tuned into SFTB Africa.
Imagine witnessing a crime. Perhaps it's a robbery, an assault, or an act of corruption unfolding in broad daylight. Now ask yourself a simple question. Would your first instinct be to report it? Or would another thought cross your mind before you even reached for your phone? Or anything happen actually? It's a simple question. But hidden inside it is something much bigger. Trust. Justice doesn't begin when a judge enters a courtroom. It begins when ordinary people believe the system is worthy turning to in the first place. Without public trust, laws lose their authority, institutions lose their legitimacy, and democracy itself begins to weaken. South Africa's constitution is founded on the rule of law. It guarantees that everyone is equal before the law, that courts remain independent, and that justice is administered without fear, favor, or prejudice. These principles are not simply legal ideals. They are the foundation upon which public confidence is built. But confidence is difficult to maintain. Justice is not just only by court rulings, it is just by what people experience. When cases take years to conclude, when corruption allegations dominate the headlines, or when high-profile matters appear to stall, many citizens begin asking whether justice works equally for everyone. Whether those perceptions are always accurate is almost beside the point. Perception shapes trust, and trust shapes whether people continue believing in the institutions meant to protect them. This is why one of the oldest principles in law remains so important. Justice must not only be done, it must also be seen to be done. People need to understand not only the outcome of a case, but also how that outcome was reached. Because transparency creates legitimacy, and legitimacy creates trust. South Africa has recently witnessed several constitutional accountability processes that remind us how justice extends beyond the courtroom. One example is the Matsaka Commission of Inquiry established by President Cyril Ramaphosa to investigate allegations of criminality, political interference, and corruption within elements of the criminal justice system. Regardless of where one stands politically, the Commission represents an important constitutional principle. When public confidence in institutions is questioned, independent investigations become essential to establish facts and restore trust. At the same time, Parliament has exercised its constitutional oversight role through ad hoc committees established to investigate matters of significant public concerns. These committees exist because accountability in democracy is not the responsibility of judges alone. Parliament, too, has a duty to scrutinize the actions of public officials and institutions on behalf of the people. Another example is the ongoing Section 89 impeachment process involving the President himself. Following the Constitutional Court's ruling that Parliament acted unlawfully in halting the impeachment process linked to the Phala matter, lawmakers were required to reconsider the matter through the constitutional process. Now, importantly, the court did not determine the president's guilt or innocence. It instead reaffirmed that constitutional accountability mechanisms must be allowed to function properly. In doing so, it reinforced a principle that sits at the heart of every democracy. No public office should be beyond scrutiny. These developments are not simply political stories. They are justice stories. Because every commission, every parliamentary inquiry, and every judicial review sends a message about whether our institutions are capable of holding power accountable. And accountability is one of the strongest foundations of public trust. But public trust is influenced by more than high-profile investigations. It is shaped by everyday experiences. A victim awaiting trial, a family searching for answers, a witness who fears coming forward, a community that feels abandoned after reporting crime. For many South Africans, the justice system is not measured by constitutional principles. It is measured by personal experience. Justice delayed often feels like justice denied. Although delays are frequently caused by overcrowded court rules, limited resources, complex investigations, and the need to protect the right of every accused person. These realities do little to comfort victims awaiting for closure. That is why efficiency matters, not because justice should be rushed, but because justice loses meaning when it arrives too late. There's another danger when public trust begins to disappear. People start looking elsewhere for justice. Some people stop reporting crimes altogether. Others begin believing that taking the law into their own hands is faster than relying on the courts. Across South Africa, communities have witnessed acts of vigilantism born from frustration and hopelessness. But while these frustrations may be understandable, vigilantism isn't justice. It replaces evidence with suspicion. It replaces due process with emotion. And it replaces the rule of law with the rule of the crowd. A constitutional democracy cannot survive if justice is decided by anger rather than evidence. That is why judicial independence remains so important. Courts must be free to make decisions based on law, not public opinion, political pressure, or social media outrage. Sometimes those decisions will appear unpopular. Sometimes they will disappoint victims. Sometimes they will frustrate the public. But independence exists precisely because justice cannot depend on popularity. So how do we rebuild trust? It begins with transparency. It requires institutions that communicate openly with the public. It demands accountability for corruption wherever it exists. It requires efficient investigations, well-resourced courts, and independent prosecutors. It also requires informed citizens like you and I, because a justice system functions best when people understand both their rights and the processes designed to protect them. The media has an important responsibility too. Reporting on court cases should do more than just announce verdicts. It should help the public understand why legal decisions are made, even when those decisions are unpopular. An informed society is less likely to confuse legal process with political interference. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. Public trust is not built because institutions never fail. It is built because institutions are prepared to examine themselves when they do. Through commissions of inquiry, through parliamentary oversight, through independent courts, through constitutional accountability. These mechanisms don't weaken democracy, they strengthen it. Because democracy is not defined by the absence of mistakes. It is defined by the willingness to confront them. A court can deliver a judgment. A commission can uncover the truth. A parliamentary committee can hold leaders accountable. But none of these on their own can restore public trust. Trust is earned case by case, decision by decision, institution by institution, and citizen by citizen. Because the true strength of a justice system is not only measured by the verdict it delivers, it is measured by whether ordinary people still believe justice belongs to everyone, not only the powerful, but also the powerless. I'm Kanalo Quintensia Mohale, and this has been another episode exploring the social and political issues shaping South Africa here at SFTB Africa. The justice system is only as strong as the public's confidence in it. So let us demand accountability without abandoning fairness, defending the rule of law without surrendering it to politics, and remembering that justice is not only about the decisions made in our courts, but about the trust those decisions inspire in our community. Until next time, keep asking difficult questions, because a democracy that welcomes scrutiny is far stronger than one that fears it.